nobody wants to take the time to define what the question is. I almost said damn, sorry, but damn question is. First one is like, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to do here? What's the question? I think that one of the things I've seen through my career is that you have a lot of people that do, and they do in the mold of what they think is good, but very few people actually think and want to ask the questions, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is that first principles dictates that you always have to understand what question you're answering, right? There's this amazing lost interview of Steve Jobs. I don't really watch a lot of them, but this one clip, they asked him, he was about mid-20s. The interview asked him, Steve, what made you think you can run a multi-million-dollar company?
Yeah.
He looks at the guy and his characteristic, he used to think through, what does this guy ask me? And he says, it's very simple. I actually can think. I question everything.
Yeah.
When I see something in front of me, I question, why are we doing that? Why do we need a CRM? What is it going to do? How's it going to help? How's it going to, and the reality is that you see so many times that tech is being adopted because people think tech is cool.
It's the Joneses, huh?
But the people that are implementing it, if you're not asking questions, you don't know what you do. I've seen this. I mean, I've had 1,000 sessions internally to say, guys, what is it that we want this thing to do?
Yeah.
Be clear. Once you know what you can do, then you know how to implement it properly, and then you know how to actually monitor this thing. But otherwise, it's just a futile exercise, right?
And that's one part of it, because even if you get to that point, staying on that.
If you don't know the why and you don't know what question you're answering, how do you continue the journey?
Because what's happening, this journey is never a 3-month journey. It's a 6 month, 12 month, 2 years, 3 years plus journey. And halfway through it, there's a CIO swap or a new guy, and he's got AI or a tool.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there's drift away from that original. I like, we like the word executive intent.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth going back to that. I wanted to ask you, Trish, the dynamic of working with people.
Yeah.
Because the CEO, the people that we all work with, even in your previous jobs, that tension between what they want and what you know that needs to be done. Because you know what needs to be done, but the shareholders, the new equity partners, whatever, how do you manage that? Because there's not a lot of people who's got the balls to to toe the line, all right? Stay there.
Lachna, so, I've thought a lot about how do these dynamics play out and what is the role. Firstly, I think you got to recognize your own ego, right? So there are times, I know people always say politics kills these things, and what happens if the politics are bad? Do I leave if there's a change in CIO? And in thinking about today and what would I want if I was going to mentor people, what was I going to say, right? For me, be aware of who you are and your ego that you bring to the table, right? Because that's problem number one. The second thing is you are not expected to do this alone. So even your question to me is, how do I have the balls? It isn't that, right? If we are aligned on why we're doing this as a business, then, you've seen that at Courier Guy. We had a CIO transition, and it's almost been seamless, because I've been very deliberate about saying it's not me. This is a team thing, and how do I do this? The minute I feel like I'm isolated on my own, it's almost a check for myself that says I'm probably dropping the ball somewhere, because this shouldn't feel like I'm leading this thing. I almost feel like my job is a little bit of the therapist, right? Is to say, I was thinking about what's my aha moment? When do I step in and when do I put on my high heels and go, this is my moment, right? Funny enough, it's when things get hard, because now I've got to look at this and go, what just happened? Is it someone's ego play? Did we drop the ball in credibility? Are the teams overwhelmed? And so my moment is to diagnose, when did we go out of alignment? Do we need to stop? And it's important for us all to go, transformation's hard. We're stepping up. There are going to need to be times when you pause and you go, okay, you know what? We need a recognition moment. We're halfway in, right? How do we do those? So I think, how do we make sure that this is a collective? how do we recognize that going in, it's going to be hard? And there are going to need to be moments where we go, you know what, we're going up the mountain today. We're all going to just check in with each other. Are we still on the right track? So mine is almost to be that therapist.
Help me understand it. I've never been in corporate, right? So how do you know this is my ego? Or how do you figure out, okay, what is the team even on the same page? Or do you just think they're on the same page? Like, how do you practically do that?
Listen, you're going to know this better than me, right? But somewhere in my career, someone taught me the word change span.
Okay.
And this is, how do you go from people that are working at the bottom end of a call center right the way up to the CIO? So if you have to start and follow this conversation up to go, you know, Mary, you're answering the phone. When things don't go, who do you talk to? And they're going to say, I talk to Susan. And you map out what they call the informal network in your business. Because there's what we think is the formal one, but we all know it actually gets done through the informal one, right? So kind of starting at Courier Guy, one of my first things was just to try and see who's that informal network. And funny enough, it's not who you think it is. So invariably, there's players that sit on the sideline, but that's the flow of information. So that's where I went, right? So when things start to look like, and you can pick it up, things aren't being signed on time, deliverables are late, someone sits in front of a screen and goes, that's not what I asked for, and they lose their temper and they storm out the room, right? Those moments, that's when you go to that informal one. And it's a cup of coffee. And that's why these conversations that I have with Lachna are so valuable, right? Because now I'm going to sit and go, Lachna, what did you hear? And he will tell me he sat in the boardroom the one day and overheard a conversation with somebody. And he said, Trish, that conversation I overheard should never have happened. So it's that informal way that I've found to be like super valuable.
Old smoker's balcony.
It's the old smoker's balcony, right? Exactly. So how do you find those?
So you can truly know what is happening in the company culture.
And listen, I mean, there's techniques for these things, right? When you see a whole lot of frustration happening, invariably tells you there's a plan that's missing. If you see people are resistant, it invariably tells you the incentives are not aligned. He's being incentivized on this, she's being incentivized on this. So there are techniques in the toolbox, and maybe that's part of speaker notes, right? Is what are some of these techniques that are publicly available? I think the difference to when I started my career to where we're at now, there are so many tools out there. Like the Amazon toolboxes are amazing. Like there are toolboxes coming out of all over. How do we make those available to the generation that's coming into the workforce now to say, when you're seeing these things, so it's not, I know you're asking me like it may sound like it's witchcraft. It's not actually. Some of this is just old-fashioned listening.
And humility.
And listening,
And
genuine
I
listening.
think that's an important word.
Yeah.
Because what you spoke about earlier is your own ego.
Yeah.
To be, in the right word is pride. How do I put that in my pocket? Am I willing to do that?
Yeah.
Maybe for you, because I mean, in your world, before I ask that question, is there anything you wanted to add on to that?
No, I wanted to add because I think I like the question, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's, I mean, partly you're speaking about it, but Trish, I think the one thing I wanted to say, you did right, but the one thing that I learned is like, it's not personal. You know what I mean? It's actually not personal. And it comes back to the humility, right? The best definition of humility I've ever heard of Brené Brown is that humility is about doing what's right and not being right. That's actually humility. People think humility is this kind of self-annihilistic kind of, no, it's actually, can you do what is right and not necessarily for you to be right? So it's never personal, man. But to Trisha's point is like, this system, this organism, it's got patterns, how things are done. It's got incentives everywhere. It's got kind of short-term memory.
It's got its own little unconscious.
It's actually an organism, right, that's playing. So once you reduce the ego and you're like, hey, this thing is not personal, okay? Then you're like, okay, let me look for the patterns. That's always good. It's to your point.
Yeah.
Where's the patterns? I mean, what is the guys? Who's the guy you need to speak to, whatever, right? And I think that's important. So there's a system, there's a pattern, there's behaviors, there's incentives, and you have to move beyond the, hey, they're attacking me, to the system is resisting. Can I understand how to deal with the system? But I wanted to make another point, and it's something that's been, as I've evolved, as you think you're winning this thing, man, as you think you're winning the change battle, you've been battle hard, and I mean, I'm many years down now. The thing that struck me though is that after excellence, after working with relationships, after navigating, after making the change now accepted and going, and once you have excellence, it no longer becomes about the change. Then it becomes about you. And then the game changes. Because then all of a sudden you're like, what the hell happened now? This thing has changed, things are right, people are accepting, and now the problem is that the person or the entity, and I liked how you said it's not about you, but then the person driving the change becomes the problem. And that's how it gets derailed. So you see, this thing is like
then
like
it becomes personal.
Then it's personal.
Yes.
It's not personal in the beginning because all the doing, the system is responding, and people think that is personal now. You understand the system, but once you've understood that, and now, because remember, change is good, and even if change hits the bottom line, everybody's happy. Somebody's activated this change, and now that person is the focus of the problem. The problem becomes the person then. And then there's another level of how do you navigate that person, right? Because now it's at a much higher level. And so my only point is that like this thing is so multifaceted that I think as a leader and as an executive, and I like the way you talk about toolboxes, it's never static, man. You're almost like this thing evolves. It takes on it takes on a life on its own. And at some point you have to recognize your role in
this
there.
is interesting. So why do you think it's like that? Is it because the leader that's like pushing for the change invests so much that it almost becomes like a part of you, and suddenly when it's done, you don't know how to deal with the loss of this thing that you've been driving?
No, I think
I
think it instills power to the person driving the change. And
so you get a little chap on your shoulder
and
because
other people want the power, right? So it all becomes the politics again. So what happens is that you just create a different level of human engagements. All I'm saying, it's multi-layered. My only point is that if we think for one moment there is a straight line, so there's a way of doing change well, buying the book, understanding, having your whatever, even that is not enough. That's all I'm trying to say there. This thing morphs, and so I think as a person that drives this, as a person that like, you must always ever be present that how is it morphing and what's my role in that, right? Because even if you're humble, it doesn't matter if you've garnered a lot of power through the process. Now you have to understand, what does change now look like? How does that play out? How do I make this thing live beyond me? And that's what a lot of people then don't do, right? One of the things that I've always believed is that the failure actually at the end is if you don't make the change live beyond you.
Yes.
If you're able to do that, then we have progress. But if change ends with you and you become the problem, that's worse even for me, because then you've lost. And so actually my biggest lesson as I've come through my career is that just never be the problem and make the change live beyond you. And that, unfortunately, sometimes has sacrifices.
I was listening to an interview the other day between, I think it's David Shapiro and, what's his name from Biz News? Anyway, very interesting. And at some point, he was like, where are all the business titans? Where's all these big, individuals that used to be running these big companies? And I'm wondering out of this conversation, because business has changed from a CEO getting on the phone, phoning a supplier saying, I want this 10 cents down, and he takes over the market the next month. So that was that big ego. Then the next period we saw was this tech. Well, the techies became the CEOs, right? And they're by virtue more introverted, quiet people, but those were the new CEOs because it became this tech business. And what I'm hearing is that the people who's really moving change and really growing businesses in the South African context aren't really both, but you're able to spot patterns. And those goat bars that you spoke about, you're not in the CEO sitting in his glass thing anymore. It's also not really the techie CEO anymore that Mark, what do you call them?
The Zuckerbergs.
Yeah. They're still there, but in a more medium to enterprise size business, it's not really those guys anymore. I'm thinking about Michael Jordan. he was this, when the F&B went through this massive thing, those guys who understood tech well really moved it forward. But are the titans gone because the titans are quiet? They are working. Stuff is moving. Even in this difficult economy, some businesses are moving forward, but you're not seeing these people. They're quiet in the background, really moving stuff forward, tech-wise and people-wise.
Sure, Lachna. I see a leadership layer now that's very people-centric. I don't know that I know exactly where the titans are gone.
Yeah.
My gut says they are investing in a new set of leadership. It's a fascinating young market that's coming in now, right? So the guys that are joining the workplace are all tech savvy, right? So they're all mobile friendly. They're all doing ChatGPT. The kind of leader that's got to get the most out of this new workforce is very people-centric. What we're seeing is people are a lot more fickle as well. They're very happy to get some experience, move their career, get some other experience. So what I'm seeing as being really successful in the workplace are people that can connect at a human level. I think tech's become this given, right? So it's a really interesting balance as to, without tech, the organization feels slow and feels a little bit democrat is the right word. Things are disconnected. So, but tech feels like it's a given now. Even training, we talk about, like, I'm digressing significantly, but training, we don't even think about that much in the workplace. People now, it must be intuitive. If it's not obvious what I need to do, well then, frankly, what you built must go back and redo that, right? Yeah. So the way people are engaging with their jobs now really is, do I have meaning? Do I connect with the place? So it feels like there's a different genre of leaders that are in. I think those big titans are still there, possibly sparking the business ideas and investing in the money. But the ones that we're seeing on the stage are different. That's my very 2 cents worth. But cool. I would need to actually go and do some proper homework. Yeah.
You?
My unintelligent view is that we're actually in this transition, right? Which is like, though there's a lot of tech, we're not building a lot. We're not producing or creating a lot. In SA, I'm talking SA, right? And I think we're in this transition where I think that we had many years of building stuff, and I think people are watching on the sidelines, man. I think so. I think we're almost like in this transition where a lot of the leaders now are holding down existing stuff, man.
But what's going to be the
spot? We need. Yeah. I mean, you were speaking earlier, right? Like, we're in a shift here, right? There's an opportunity here that I think we all recognize, understand. Metrics are where they've never been before, right? Look where the rand is, look where the gold price is. But even just look what people are doing around the world. I spoke about the France example earlier, like, they're just saying from next year sometime, no more teams, right? Like, we're getting to this phase where people are actually going to take the initiative. And I think in SA, that's where we find ourselves, right? I think we're going to get, my view personally, I have the sense that we're going to get a birth of a whole bunch of new leaders in this space.
And I think if there's anything we can talk about is that the people in the workforce now are the future leaders. What are these people? I mean, you consult with them every day. Why are we working so hard to get them to buy into our stuff?
Yeah.
So... because that's really difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, you asked me yesterday, do you have a change manager? Like 10 years ago, what change management? I always used to joke and say, if you can't do change management.
Yeah.
Now you need to really like massage the stuff really slowly, and that's got its own overhead and cost. Yeah. Why do we need to do that? Why are people so fickle? Your word.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I do know that the young people coming in, some things I find interesting about young adults I work with going into the workforce is their awareness of their mental health and the need they have for companies to acknowledge that. A dynamic, I don't know, as a millennial, I guess myself, I don't really understand with how they relate to work. You spend hours and hours at work. So it's an important part of your life. But I don't know if by fickle we mean they're almost like sensitive to how toxic is my work environment. Does anyone actually care about me?
Was it always that way? Don't you think it's just a human nature thing? It's just more audible now at the moment.
So let me give you a perspective.
Maybe
right?
everyone
so
just has language now.
I'm seeing time as the scarce commodity. So if I reflect on why I changed manager, we're too busy. So I think, and it talks to the price tag of tech. So if we go right back to the beginning, right? You've made a big investment in this process that we want to change. We know we've cut time out of our timelines. There's no doubts about it. You and I both know we're up against this thing. So time is the scarce resource. And the generation that we're changing now wants to know what's in it for me. I feel like we had the luxury of time on previous implementations. Look at my early career, right? It was nothing to say a project's going to take 18 months. That's just how it was. 18 months. If you called less than 18 months, somebody said to you, made a mistake, it's 18 months, right? We're talking now about 6 months, 4 months for some of the work that we're wanting to do now. So we've really, really slimmed that down. And in the Courier Guy style, we want to be bold and we want to take risks. So it's completely within our culture and we're happy and we're going to give it a go. The people that we're working with now are dealing in instant gratification. We all know that in everybody's house, we don't even watch the same channel anymore. You're going to watch Netflix, you're going to watch a podcast. Everybody chooses to suit themselves. So I think that the generation we're training says, what's in it for me? Now we need a human to come and go, you know what, Karine, this is what changes for you. You know, you used to do this because now you don't want to read this on a memo because you're going to go, sorry, that's disrespectful to me. I'm a human. Come and talk to me as a human. So now, funny enough, I think time and this human commodity, I know Simon Sinek's got some work on it recently to say, as an airline, the platinum status actually gets you a human again. Everybody else, when you're phoning the contact center, it's a nummer asseblief and you must go in, you know. And actually the humans are coming in as the VIP support service. So I think it's going to be this time and human connection where that's what's going to be valuable. So that's, it's only kind of come through to me now, but I think that's what I'm seeing.